Thank you so much. And let me tell you that it is a great pleasure to be here today. And it's an honor for me to be invited by this a prominent institution which has become a permanent feature of Kraków, Kraków, which is my family town. My pleasure is indeed high to be here on that occasion in the presence of such a wonderful and prominent audience. I'm very happy to see President Patelink with us. Today we have a chance to meet quite regularly on international fora, but to have you here in Kraków, it's a real treat. Minister Senator Bogdan Klich, thank you so much for bringing me here to to Kraków. With Jacek Czaputowicz, we in the 90s we did a lot of interesting, exciting things in our diplomacy. Good to have you here. Dr. von Vogel, we met in Brussels, we met in Berlin lately, and in Kraków. So it also shows that debate on the issues that we have in front of us today the debates are lively, and the debates are sort of permanent and taking place practically all over Europe. And I think it is very important. And by the way, a good thing to be in Kraków for a formal meeting is to be able to go to my mother's place in a couple of hours and have her pierogi, which is not a frequent thing nowadays. So I was asked to share some remarks on our presidency. 6 months, June, December, we devoted so much effort to the mission that we had, and I do call it a mission. And let me tell you that when I was invited to join the Minister of National Defense by Minister Klich around 2 years ago, for which I am very grateful to you, Senator. And I started familiarizing myself with the agenda of our presidency. And I look at it today, we are like two worlds apart. I will tell you even more. 6 months ago or 7 months ago, when we started our job, and when I look at it today, again, we are so far away from the two environments, if you wish. It shows that we are in a constant dynamic change in international environment. And this is the greatest challenge that we have in front of us, to be able to adjust, or actually to readjust ourselves to constantly changing circumstances. And we have to remember that what we say today may not be relevant. Relevant it may be, but it may not be true or adequate to what we do tomorrow or already after tomorrow. So this is the toughest part of our jobs. We took over the role of the presidency from our Hungarian colleagues in July 2011, and we were aware that an important but very demanding task was ahead of us. We did know that the tools we had at our disposal were rather limited, and it's due to the Lisbon Treaty, which changed the mechanism quite significantly, because according to the provisions of the Lisbon Treaty, it is the European Union External Action Service which is actually responsible for the common security and defense policy. So to do the job in the new format was also quite a challenge, and it was to some extent an experiment. At the same time, there was no clear ownership of the CSDP development process. the paint on the new architecture was still fresh, and it seemed that the European Union institutions were not ready yet to take up its leading role. Now, political climate was not necessarily conducive for creating new initiatives in the area of CSDP. On the one hand, the global financial crisis meant that the European Union member states' funds and attention were largely concentrated on economic issues. On the other hand, a number of bilateral and multilateral defense projects were being drafted, raising some question marks as to the efficiency of the existing CSDP mechanisms. At the same time, while the general assessment was that CSDP left room for improvement, there seemed to be an overall lack of faith that progress was within reach. The inability to find consensus on a number of significant issues was still fresh in the minds of the CSDP professionals, and we were fully aware of this. Yet we wanted to forget for a moment that the development of CSDP was assessed to be difficult. We wanted to remind our partners the successful elements of this policy and demonstrate that it deserved our attention and engagement. And let me tell you that yesterday, I had the chance to be before the Senate Committee on Committee on National Defense, and I was expected to present the assessment or our assessment of our presidency, which I did, and I have to tell you that there was quite a lot of understanding on the other side among senators who, after a reflection, because they did have a time to reflect on what happened during the 6 months, they were quite appreciative about what was achieved. I remember we had debates in the parliament before our presidency, or just when we started, and I remember the amount of expectations from the parliamentarians. We knew, as well as they, that it would not be easy to achieve all the points that we had in front of us due to those changing circumstances. And I have to say that yesterday's debate in the Senate made me believe that indeed we did manage to get through that message of CSDP in the European Union family.